My name's Rowan Young. We were the project architects and the project design architects. So the architectural brief was quite a simple one, in so much that the clients are German. They're used to a very different way of living in Germany to how we maybe typically consider designing a house in Cape Town. And so the site is a panhandle site behind another house on the slopes of Kloof, and is a very tricky site, very steep sloping site with limited access. And from the outset, we looked at a solution that would be, if you like, not a conventional construction solution. And the imagery that the clients had showed us when they first approached us to design their house was a very contemporary, modern house in Pennsylvania. Steel construction, cantilevers, lots of glass, and very minimal. And we looked at that, and we looked at the site, and we said, yeah, this is exactly the approach that we need here. You know, to build this house in a conventional brick and concrete would actually, the site didn't lend itself to that approach. So yeah, that's sort of how we kicked off, with the idea of a minimal house, the idea that the house should be very contemporary, but also it should be compact. You know, in Germany, people live in, 25 square meter apartments, and they use every last little nook and cranny. So we wanted to sort of also explore that. Right out from the concept of when we started doing sketches, we were looking at, as I said, a contemporary product, and in my mind there were the ideas of paring back the building to really just be the essence of what we could do there, the minimum intervention. So we looked at a frame construction, structural steel frame, and the idea that everything that went into the house, sort of in terms of structure, was expressed in the house. So instead of building a structure and then covering it up, we looked at a solution where it was very obvious how this building is put together. And so when you look at the original sketches and then through the beginning of the structural build, you can actually, and you go to the site now, you can actually see how this building goes together. And that was quite important for, I think, for our clients to have this very rational product at the end of the day. And it's for us, that expression is the use of the steel became this clean and exact tool. So often when you build with concrete and bricks, the margin of tolerance is very wide, and whereas when you're building with steel, the margin of tolerance is a millimeter or two. So it automatically put everyone in a different mindset, and I think one of the things that, or one of the key things for us was that our clients bought into this idea of expression of the steel structure, and notwithstanding, and it's probably not the right thing to say on camera, but notwithstanding that it came at a slight premium, because we actually, in the early days, we did the scheme with steel, We had it priced. The price was too much, as it usually is, and we then redesigned the whole structure in concrete and brick. And we said to the clients, it doesn't look great. And they said, yeah, let's go with the steel. So we actually went through the exercise of redesigning it, drawing it all up, having it recosted in a concrete and brick building, and it just didn't have that, it didn't express the true nature of the cantilevers and that simple structural frame that we were trying to sort of express. For us working with steel, what we love about it, and many of our buildings use structural steel as either in whole or as a big component, is the expression of lightness. So what you can achieve with a steel structure, as opposed to using a concrete structure, is that feeling of elegance and sort of almost beauty in a way. You know, the steel is beautiful to look at once it's, you know, even in the structural form. Before we did any cladding on this building, the steel structure was beautiful. You know, it was actually a beautiful. You could have just clad the whole building in glass and left it. It would have been beautiful. The other thing that steel makes you do, and quite frankly, we didn't realize this until we embarked on the project and sat with the engineer and the contractor and the steel contractor, is every last detail needs to be thought about before it actually goes on site. And it's a real pain in the ass, but actually what it does do is it forces you to think about these things before they actually get to site, usually. And so we, you know, and I would say, you know, 95% of that we probably got right. There was probably 5% that where we sort of thought, well, actually that's not going to work. But it was about, so the use of the steel was really one that made us contemplate every connection on the building before we even got to site. And that's, you know, it's something that might seem insignificant, but it's actually quite significant when you're going in a sort of fast-track design process. You know, but essentially it's that, you know, I'm a big fan of the sort of early modernists and the way they used the least amount of material to express simple spaces and simple beauty. And, you know, and steel allows you to do that. You know, there's actually no other sort of structural system that you can achieve that with. Finishing. No, seriously, what I am proud about is the fact that we worked with our clients, with our contractors, with our engineers. It was no, this was not a sort of top-down, you know, we're in charge of everything. This was like, a lot of this had to be brainstormed, thought about, that, and, you know, obviously with the steel contractor, the main contractor, working out problems that none of us had come up against. And, you know, and the fact that as a team we got a beautiful product finished, and we're very proud of what the end product is. Our clients love it. I mean, they you know, and it's, I think the vision of what we had in the beginning and what the product ended up, you know, it's probably a very good fit.